Something very important as well, these are the motor mounts.
Who would have thought we'd be here right now? But this was the sketchiest thing I have ever done.
1 through 10, how excited are you?
10.
But right off the bat, we ran into a massive issue. The motor just simply doesn't want to fit in the car the way it is right now.
My name is Danny. Behind me is a Need for Speed E46 tribute car we recently built. And even though it is pouring rain right now, and I think there's a Category 5 hurricane happening in Florida, today's the most important episode of all time for this build because we're finally starting the almighty motor swap.
In the past couple months, we did the unthinkable, turning this cheap old BMW into my dream Need for Speed BMW that I used to play as a kid back in Cuba. But obviously, there's still one major key missing.
The motor that's in the car right now just doesn't give the car justice. It's time we give it some justice. We did an amazing job with the body. Check out the whole series if you haven't already, but it's time for the motor. And I'm nervous.
Now, what motor should we put in this car? Should we stick with a 6-cylinder BMW motor? Should we get a BMW V8? Should we put something Japanese? Should we put something American in it? A B58? There's so many options, but there's only one right one for me.
No cheating. Comment below right now what motor you want to see in the car. But okay, we got a long drive to pick up the motor.
Step 1, go to Home Depot because we need a truck. I don't have a truck. Step 2, drive about an hour away to get the motor. But when we got there, the unthinkable happened. He did not have a crane to put the motor onto the truck. But before we even tried to figure out how to get it on the truck, we had to move the motor as it was sinking into the grass. It was horrible. Thankfully, Christian came and we figured out a method where we were going to strap the bottom of it. It should incline the motor enough for us to put the lip onto the truck, and then we can pretty much just push it up. But this was the sketchiest thing I have ever done. But thankfully, no injuries, and finally, we're home. But what motor is it, you may be asking? Here we go.
How heavy is that?
Extremely heavy, and you saw how me and your brother had to put it on that truck.
Yeah.
Are you excited for the 6.0 liter to go in there?
But it's a V8 inline.
It's a V8 6.0 liter that's gonna go wop, 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 wop.
I only know it's 8 because there's 4 on one side and then 4 on the other.
There you go. 1 through 10, how excited are you?
10, 12.
10, 12.
You
All right.
know it fits?
Oh yeah, it fits.
Okay.
Let's go.
An American 6.0 liter V8 motor. This motor has absolutely been redone with resurfaced heads, upgraded studs, all new gaskets, and we picked it up for $2,000. It is an LQ4 part of the LS family, and look how insane it sounds.
Now I know exactly what you're wondering. Danny. Why are you putting a 6.0 liter V8 into the Need for Speed BMW? Well, there's just one answer to that question.
America, baby.
On a serious note, I've had Japanese cars, I've had German cars, I've never had an American V8. So what better way to put the cherry on top of this build than with a 6.0 liter from a truck. This one is an iron block and it was found in trucks like the Silverado and I believe the Sierra, I think, as well. But the awesome thing about the LS motors and the LQ motors, everything is interchangeable. So you're gonna see later on in this video, we got an LS1 intake, we got all the LS1 accessory kits, we have so many LS1 parts, we have a lot of work to do. So before we start unboxing and talking more about this, let's figure out how to take out this motor and put this big motor in, because the challenge for today's video is to do just that.
Easier said than done, but this is the last time you see this little 6-cylinder motor in this car. And for motivation, we have the 6.0 liter V8 right behind us, staring at us.
Bro, how am I gonna do a whole motor swap if I can't take out a headlight?
Since the motor's coming out and we're doing a full motor swap, basically everything has to come off of the car, including the headlights, the front bumper, the front bash bar, the whole core radiator support, because we need as much room as possible to pull the motor out through the front of the car.
I want to see how much coolant this car has, because it's been telling me it doesn't have any coolant since I got it.
This car barely has any coolant in the car. I mean, even taking out the pipes, nothing came out. That is insane. To take out the radiator support, it was 3 bolts on each side, a couple bolts at the top. Not too difficult, but once this comes off, we have access to the condenser and the radiator, which also needs to come off.
if you're anything like me, you're tired of feeling like you're stuck in the desert while you're working on your car. Thankfully, we're fixing just that with today's sponsor, Circle, the revolutionary way to staying hydrated and making working on your car or your daily activities just more fun. If you guys haven't noticed, I'm an avid drinker of water. I've tried a lot of bottles, but this is the most innovative, coolest bottle I've ever seen. With Circle's unique flavor cartridges, you can choose from a variety of flavors to keep your taste buds entertained. They literally have over 100 flavors to choose from. Me personally, right now, I'm rocking Florida Man. Oh, let's face it, the main reason you don't reach your daily water intake is because it's boring. Water, it's great, but just not fun to drink. Add these cartridges, and now you have some really nice flavored water, just like that. And what's awesome is you can control the flavor. The X means you want no flavor, and then you go all the way up to 9, which is very intense flavor. Like I said, thank you so much to Circle for sponsoring today's video. Get a free stainless steel bottle by using the link in the description, plus a cartridge in your first ever order of $35 or more. Go check that out. Thank you once again, and let's get back to the video.
Radiator and condenser out, but wait, is that Danny in a one piece? Woo, okay. Sheesh. Work it. Microphone here absolutely cut out. But, and something very exciting, as I'm disconnecting the ECU, I just wanted to say we're going with a full standalone Poly Terminator X Max ECU, as well as a custom wiring harness from Wiring Specialties. Very pricey, but everything should work just as OEM, and it's gonna make things so much more fun and easier.
Okay, I think we're pretty much done with like the top side of the motor and the front end. Now we have to get under the car. I don't want to go ahead and take off the transmission. I want to take out the motor with transmission together. So now we got to go ahead and disconnect the drive shaft, motor mounts, exhaust, wiring that goes to the transmission since it's an auto.
I get us really just out here thinking about her life.
Oh my goodness, that's heavy. Oh, my finger.
As well as the drive shaft, because that is connected to the transmission, which is also coming out with the motor. For the drive shaft, there's 3 Torx bolts in the back, and up in the front, there's just 3 bolts and nuts that we have to take out. And yes, we are going to be needing a custom drive shaft, because as you'll see in a little bit, it is a new manual transmission we're getting.
Listen up, it is currently 12:55 p.m. and I am determined to take out this motor today. No matter what happens, this motor is coming out. We have so much to do, and if this thing doesn't come out, we're in big trouble.
And since we only have one crane, we have to put down the V8 so we can use the crane to pull out the inline 6.
I'm on myself today. We're gonna get this done. If we need help, which I hope we don't, we'll get some help, but this is hopefully the last time this little motor is inside this car. Let's go.
Lastly, by unbolting the motor mounts, the motor should be good to come out. Here we go. I'm just so excited. And I think I'm gonna be able to do it by myself. You know, sometimes you just need help.
He's not coming out!
Turns out even though the motor mounts were disconnected, they were still hitting the subframe of the car, not allowing the motor to come out. So we have to take off the motor mounts, which also turns out they're absolutely destroyed and not even really motor mounts anymore. Unfortunately, the 30 minutes were over and we ran yet into another issue. Look how much the oil pan is hitting the front subframe. I mean, there's no way we're getting this out of there like that. So we had to drop the subframe, and hopefully we have enough clearance to take out the motor. Here we go. And with that being said, yes, look at that. Who would have thought we'd be here right now with the motor outside of the car?
I don't even know what to say right now. Let's go.
This is just such a big milestone for us. We've been waiting for this for so long. And look how weird the car looks with no motor inside. And well, let this teach you. You can take a motor out by yourself with really little to no experience. Corny, but anything is possible. Shout out to the brother Chris Fix, but out with the old and in with the new.
And now on to phase 2. Clean it up, make everything pretty, show you guys everything, and then phase 3, drop in the motor. Now we're still missing a few boxes, but this gives you a really good idea on everything you need when you're basically building a Frankenstein car. Now, from the few things that we're missing includes the whole wiring harness, the ECU, the clutch, and a couple other things. my gosh. I forgot we still need a transmission. Let's go get the transmission.
Transmission was a near-death experience for me. Cristobal and I drove 3.5 hours away to the middle of absolute nowhere. And I wish I could have filmed where the guy lived, but let's just say I had to go under the house to get the transmission, and I really thought that I wasn't going to make it out. But thankfully, we got the transmission, a manual T56, but of course, I messed up once again.
Oh my gosh. Well, turns out I pretty much bought the wrong transmission. This is an LT T56, not an LS T56. The amount of T56 variations there are is disgusting, but I just had to spend $800 on a new bell housing, an input shaft from an LS, and a mid plate from an LS.
Thankfully, my mess up had a solution, and we're not completely screwed.
So we gotta pay for our mistakes. Either way, we're still paying relatively the same amount I would have paid for an LS1 T56. Here we have the aftermarket oil pan that's gonna go in this motor, because obviously that oil pan's meant for a truck. This is meant for a BMW. Something very important as well, these are the motor mounts for the motor. Ooh, this one's also very important. The mount for the transmission, yup, look at that. T56. Oh, I see. These go on the motor, this goes on the car. So these are also part of the motor mounts. And I believe these are the almighty headers. 3, 2, 1. Sheesh, those are some sick headers. I mean, just look at that. That's not bad at all. At all. Man, I've never owned headers like this. Funny enough, I've actually never even done headers on a car, so that's hilarious. Boom. Now, the first thing I do want to start off by doing is taking off these stock headers and putting on the new ones you guys seen. Also, these are the coil packs. It's just so weird. And you actually just kind of pull them out like that. They go right over the spark plug. It's such a different world.
The motor just looks so nice with those new headers on. And next up, the motor mounts. These motor mounts have 2 mounting points. It uses the factory bolt from a subframe and an added on bolt in the back. And then this bracket is what goes bolted on to the motor. We went on the cheaper side, but everything looks really good so far. These brackets change up the front accessory of the motor, allows us to use BMW parts as well as LS1 parts from Corvettes, Firebirds, and Camaros.
So sick, but as you guys just saw, we're gonna go ahead and start putting on the front accessory kit. Basically a couple ICT billet brackets so we can run the AC compressor, an alternator up here, and everything just fits perfectly in the E46. I don't know how to do it, but it shouldn't be too hard. And then we can go ahead and put the motor in, and then I can tell you guys about the next big step. Wow. That's awesome. And this is really helping, I'm not gonna lie. Bro, like, Danny, bro, you've been LS swapping your whole life. Nope. I haven't been. And you're gonna see, we're about to actually take this build 13 hours away to properly do everything. And I am so excited to introduce you guys to a legend in the game.
Yup, we're gonna have power steering. Of course, we're in Florida, we need that AC. Even though I don't know if I'm gonna run AC, if we want to, it's gonna be right there for us. And here we have the LS1 water pump. I've never seen a water pump like this, but I think it looks pretty cool in my opinion.
Okay, so we pretty much put on the LS1 alternator, LS1 water pump. tensioner from ICT billet.
We still have to put the LS1 crank pulley, the LS1 manifold, the AC bracket, AC compressor, fuel rails, so many things, but I just need to see how this motor fits in the car before we do any of that and complete the challenge of this video.
Because we pretty much gotten the opportunity of a lifetime for this channel, and Crystal and I are renting a truck, are renting a trailer, and you're gonna see in the next video, it's just gonna be insane. This is happening, y'all. This is really happening right now. My goal for right now is just see how the motor sits on the inside. I don't know if it's gonna work without putting that oil pan on, but I'm hoping I can still bolt on the motor. Now, of course, I do have to put that oil pan on, but I just wanna see how it sits with the stock oil pan.
But right off the bat, we ran into a massive issue. The motor just simply doesn't want to fit in the car the way it is right now.
Issue is, the headers seem to be hitting the steering shaft. But the thing is, I'm down to put the motor in with the headers, but how am I supposed to lift this motor if I don't strap it by the headers? Okay, so I just did get notice that the motor will not go in if the headers are on. I wish I knew that before, so things are about to get a little interesting, but we got this. We're almost there.
And by taking the headers off and doing a really good amount of wiggling,
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
Oh, that's not good. What happened? Oh, it just snapped. We started this video with a functioning drivable car, and we're ending it with a really cool non-functioning or running car. But the fact that the motor sits in there like swim where it's all good and stuff, we did it. We freaking did it.